Well, it's an interesting list of games. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 4As, whatever, they're not in the district yet, because in some of those districts you don't get there until about week 6. But we do have some interesting matchups. Now, Santa Rosa 2-2, Hidalgo 1-3. Santa Rosa got back on the winning track. They got their star back, and he produced.
Yeah, they did. And Hidalgo faced a buzzsaw in Rio Hondo.
Yeah, man, that was a day late, but not a dollar short with the Bobcats, 48-20 on that count. Hidalgo's played a tough schedule too. The last couple of weeks they've had PI and Rio Hondo, so they get a chance against the Santa Rosa team that squad-wise, size-wise, they should be competitive with. Now, but Wally Olivares came back at 155 yards.
Yeah, and Hidalgo's going to have to bring some of that the stuff they had in the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
They were hitting in the beginning of the year. They were moving the ball.
They scored a lot of points.
They were playing a tough game against Pioneer when they lost.
Yeah, they were. So you like their chances, although Santa Rosa came up with a big effort, man. This kid, Randy Reyna, had an interception at the end to seal the deal. So him and Wally and those kids, the Santa Rosa deserves a lot of credit because we were trying to bury him for dead a couple of weeks ago. Shows you. What do we know? Santa Rosa says we showed you what you know. Nada. All right. Gruya Rio Hondo. So you got that Rio Hondo team at 3-1. Gruya lost to Lytle last week, and Lytle's undefeated. So they've had a tough schedule. If you look at it, they played PI and a couple other teams. We're still waiting to see if the Gators can get it going. There's still time, but I mean, the more games you lose in a row, the less likely you are to keep your kids interested and fired up and believing they can do it.
Yeah, and if there was a game for them to win, would be this one. I mean, seriously,
beat a good team.
Turn everything back around.
Right.
If you can beat Rio Hondo, who's what they did.
They're doing well.
It would get Gruya back on track.
They can score. The first couple of games, they scored about 16 points. Then they started turning it on a little bit. They're starting to turn it around. But this would be a great win against Rio Hondo because you don't want to be 0 anything. I mean, 0-1 is bad enough. But if they go 0-5, then, boy, like I said, it just gets to be more of a tricky wicket to be able to come in on Monday and say, okay, kids, we're all right. Well, but what does all right mean? 0-5 is not all right. Yeah. So I expect that if Rio Hondo's not careful, they could get upset in this game.
Yeah. No, I like this next game, though. I mean, if we're talking about a game of the week.
I started as such, right? A second line game of the week.
Yeah.
St. Joe, and they're playing over at Port Isabel, right? Where's it at? Yeah.
Yeah, IPI.
Well, okay. Now, we've said this last couple of years. We have a lot of advanced publicity. St. Joe's got some players. Then they get popped pretty good by PI. Do you think they have a chance to hang with them this time and or beat them?
They have a quarterback finally that's
phenomenon, freshman Kai Money.
Yeah, no, he's a freshman. And so this is probably the first time he's going to see some competition.
Yeah, he ain't seen a defense like this.
No.
He ain't seen a mean old squad of Seawall Cats like this. He has 760 yards passing, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, rushed for 471, 6 touchdowns. He's obviously legitimate. I don't care if it's St. Joe or St. Who cares? I mean, it's St. Elsewhere. Dude can play.
Yeah.
So, and the rest of those guys seem competent. What they got to do is not do anything dumb at the beginning. If you're the big underdog in a team against a team like Port Isabel, don't give them any freebies, man, because they can stonewall you. You'd be 31-0 before you know it.
Hey, here's the thing, too. Port Isabel isn't going to give them that many possessions like the other teams.
No.
They're not going to be able to stop Port Isabel the way they have been with other teams. Port Isabel is going to grind the ball.
And break one, because not only JJ, but this De Los Santos is panning out. He had a 200-yard game. He had a 76-yard run. They just keep finding backs. And we're going to talk later on about the running backs of the Valley and the history. So most of the great names of the past, or at least some, came from Port Isabel, so it was no surprise they got some good ones. I hope to see St. Joe be competitive, not because I'm rooting for either team, but hey, and it'd be good for PI to get a little bit of a challenge. I mean, they've started to kind of pull away from teams, so this might be a good game. Or, and I hate to say it might be a blowout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to find out. I don't want to say
this guy, man, he's rooting against the Bloodhounds.
But no, look, a freshman quarterback, it's going to be tough.
Well, if he's as good as I think he is, and I don't have as much to base that on but premonitions, maybe it will be interesting. Hey, PI can use a challenge because the Halloween match with Orange Grove and the Great Pumpkin rising out of the pumpkin patch is a month away. All right, Kingsville at Raymondville. Now, Raymondville's done a pretty good job this year. Kingsville, another one of those teams that may be 1-3, but it's played a tough schedule. They've been beaten by some good teams, and so they just got past Robstown by 4. How do you expect Raymondville to do at home against the Brahmos?
Well, I got to see a little bit of the tape on Raymondville versus Lyford at the beginning of the year. they're a good team. You know, Leifer's probably not as strong as they had been in the past.
No, they're not right now.
You know, but this Kingsville team is pretty tough.
They always got some weapons. They make a lot of mistakes sometimes, but they can go to the house. Choom! Raymondville defense. That I told you about Edward Chavez about 3 weeks ago. He's had a good season. But there's a couple of guys named Santana out there. There's Leonard and there's Marcos. And so those two kids are playing good ball for the Bearcats. I feel like they have a chance to win. Kingsville's not incredible. All they got to do is start out well and get those weapons on offense. Run. I think Bearcats going to win.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, I can't root for no Kingsville.
Yeah.
Forget that stuff.
King who?
Yeah. King who? Bruni at Lavia. Oh, wait, what were you going to say? I'm
No,
sorry.
I was going to say Lavia. I think I love this game, but I mean, it's going to be a tough one for Lavia.
Lavia's 1-3, man. And they have not played their best football yet. That's okay. But Bruni is pretty solid. Now, Bruni's got an interesting story. They're 3-1. You know the only team to beat them? It's on your cheat sheet. Let's see if he did his homework. Who's the only team to beat
They lost to Ben Bolt.
Yeah, they did. 40-27 to Ben Bolt. What's ironic about that game is both teams' name starts with a B and their mascot is the Badgers. So is Bishop, for that matter. And Bishop was beaten by Bruni, and I started to sound like I'm in one of those comic routines. You know, who's on first? Bottom line is Bruni's a good football team. Lavia in the past has handled a team like this. If they want to have the type of season they've been having recently, it's time for them to show it against a quality team in Bruni, and I'm hoping that they do.
You know, in the past they've had the quarterback with the receivers and a great running back. That
Yeah, a lot of talent.
Yeah, and it probably isn't one of their more fruitful years. But look, I mean, it's Lavia. They know what they do well. And
It's a good system.
You know, if they can just get it together, you know, which they haven't been able to do yet. But if
Hey, Macario Perez threw a touchdown early against Santa Rosa. They played reasonably well, didn't score much after that. In fact, not at all. Let's see what Lavia does. It's a lot of pride on that team, and they may not like hearing that they may not be as good as they were. Maybe they are as good as they were, and it's just taking them so long to find it. It's a good game to get together against Bruni. Now, Agua Dulce at Santa Maria. Santa Maria has done pretty well this season. Agua Dulce is not a bad little team.
No, they're not. Yeah. You know, they're 2-2 right now.
Yeah.
You know, they're going into this game with, well, Santa Maria team that just, I don't know. I still think they're trying to find an identity.
Yeah. Well, and you know, Santa Maria and Lavia are in a tougher district than Monte Alto. So if you're looking at who has a better district, the teams in Monte Alto's district are like 3-11 overall, but Lavia and Santa Maria, they're playing in a district where those teams are pretty tough. So you got to get the wins when you can find them there. I think Santa Maria has a pretty decent chance. How about La Feria? We'll go back up to 3 and 4A. La Feria at Progreso. This might be a bad matchup because La Feria hasn't given up much and Progreso hasn't scored much lately.
Yeah, and Galpin.
Yeah, he's tough. Not Gilpin, but Galpin, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say Gilpin.
Isaac, he looks like a movie star. He's a handsome, big kid. He looks like, is that the quarterback? Yes, that's the quarterback. Yeah, you know.
You know, look, it's gonna be tough because Progresso's got athletes, but
when do they put it together?
Yeah.
They did the opposite of what they've done the last couple of years. But Red Ants have started strong and faded. Now they started poorly. Does that mean that they surge in the second half? Only the tea leaves and the crystal ball can know for sure. MMA at Riviera. Now the Seahawks from Coffer, wherever that is, are 2-1, not a bad team. MMA's had its moments, but you just never can tell with them. I would hope that in honor of Coach Morton, they go out and beat the hell out of these guys. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah.
You know, but MMA is, you know, it's weird. I mean, having coached basketball, some years they have players. They
won a state championship winner, yeah.
And then some years it's just, you know, slim pickings.
Right.
So you know, it's kind of hard to know. And then sometimes they lose them during the season. They just
right. Yeah, they drop out or they go home. They had a guy named Dale Hellestray. You remember him? Played offensive line for the Cowboys for about 12 years. Yeah. Oh yeah, he was amazing. Great basketball player. You couldn't guard him. About 6'6", about 250, just take the ball and turn, and you would fall down and you'd make a layup. That was it. Now, he was a deft guy, too. All right, now the final one, Monte Alto, was off to a poor start, has Crystal City. Now, let's see, have you ever studied Texas history or no? I'm going to quiz him again. I didn't
go to school here.
This is true. He grew up in Liechtenstein or somewhere, North Dakota or something. North or south?
South.
All right, sorry about that. That, of course, is a faux pas. Crystal City back in the 60s is one of the first areas in South Texas where there was some Latino civil rights action going on. Some local guys got together and were fighting against the establishment. It's kind of a famous story of strikes in the field, political office. So when I think of Crystal City, I'm like, oh wow, that has a special place in political and labor history.
I was thinking meth, but it's okay.
Yeah, well, I don't know why you're thinking meth, but there's method to your madness. Anyway, I can get 5 to 10 for that. All right, so where are we at? Is that all the games? Did we do it?
That is all the games.
Oh my goodness, a full slate of games, and we look forward to coming back next week and seeing again which of those teams took a step forward and which of them are going to have to hustle twice as hard in the future. Anything to add, my friend?
No, we'd like to thank our sponsors, though. McDonald's, the Payne Auto Group, for helping us put this together. And we're not done. We're going to have a little overtime segment that will come back from the break.
The foul stench of overtime hangs in the air. Part 2 of the Who is the Greatest Running Back in the History of the Valley will be seen moments after you leave the building. You come back in and watch a little mini movie that we're going to have for you too. Greg Selber, Jake Berry, thanks for joining us on the show. Stay tuned. One more segment and then we're gone.